Got a couple of things coming up. The Greens spokesman on defence, Scott Ludlam, has actually just begun a media conference. Let's listen in.
We will be debating a version of the bill that nobody outside the government offices has seen. The government, on the basis of a committee report that was tabled last week that crossbenchers were excluded from, has apparently drafted a whole heap of amendments. Nobody has seen them, and we will be expected to basically take it or leave it. It's a shocking way to treat the legislature. I think it would be a terrible way to treat the Australian Parliament on a trivial bill, but on a bill as significant as this, which proposes, I think, to potentially criminalise journalism, or national security journalism in particular, and there's nothing, I think there's never been a time when that's been more important, and threatens to substantially increase and widen ASIO's surveillance powers. To be just throwing a handful of amendments at people, probably quite substantial ones, at the last minute as debate is taking place, is treating the Parliament with pure contempt. The Greens agree that the situation is very serious here at home and overseas. We've just deployed back into a war in Iraq. People are obviously very, very concerned about the statements overnight, in which Australia is named, I think, 3 times, that these threats are real. And I think the Australian government should do the Australian Parliament justice in at least being clear about what it is that we're proposed to pass, because I think what we're seeing here is effectively overreach and not something that will make the Australian people any safer. So my call on the government is to hold off on this debate until we've at least had a chance to see what's in the bill, the final version of the bill, because criminalising reporting of national security issues is a terrible way, I think, of actually protecting the freedoms that the government claims to stand for, and until very recently was stridently proclaiming to be the ultimate defender of.
In light of ISIL's latest threats, do you believe that we're now at war with ISIL? In light of the latest threats, yeah?
Well, I guess you don't declare wars in the way that might have happened in 1914. These threats have been made by this entity in the past, although I guess nothing as explicit as what we saw last night. But if we're sending fighter aircraft and we're sending the SAS into that theatre of war, then it's impossible, I think, for the Prime Minister to continue the line that this is simply a humanitarian intervention. Because of the nature of the capability that we're putting into the field and the fact that we've simply been first in the queue into that theatre of war, it's a war.
If Australia is attacked, do you think that we should send in ground troops to fight ISIL if we're attacked?
I've got very significant concerns about the whole premise that we can make people safer by pouring petrol on the fire that we helped start in Iraq. I think any escalation of violence in that region, you would hope that we would have learned from some of the lessons of the past. So we don't support ground troops going in, but let's be very serious. The SAS are ground troops. They are not people that you hold back at headquarters writing reports. So the commitment that this would be strictly humanitarian and the commitment that there would be no boots on the ground didn't last a fortnight.